right, we'll begin with the question and answer part of this. What we've done is we've set up two mics. I'm going to draw two names out of the silver jar here. Two people will be asked the question initially. With a show of hands, two people can respond to the question. When we run out of names in the jar, put the names back in and keep going. We'll try to keep the crosstalk to a minimum if possible. Okay, so the first two people up. Sean Gullion. Don Benson. Okay, the first question, gentlemen, and Sean, you'll respond first, is how do we involve residents in the decision-making process for our community?
By asking them, ask directly. I wanted to, if I had time, to go door to door, write names down. This person suggests this, this person suggests that. I just haven't had the time to do it, but asking them directly, voting.
Because this would be more as to if you were elected and you're on council, how would you involve the residents in the decision-making process?
How would I involve the residents in the decision-making process?
Yeah.
I'd have to get in first. I'm not claiming that I know every answer to everything. It's just.
Don?
Yeah, I believe that anybody in council should be approachable. And I think a real good idea is have an open house, meet with the public once every 6 months or so, get their input so you can deal with matters that are important to each individual. Thank you.
Anybody else care to respond to that?
I can respond a little bit.
Everett and Jesse.
I guess 8 years sitting on council, it's still sometimes a problem to reach out to the community. I know council, we are approachable and we do get feedback from a lot of the residents in the community. One thing that maybe a little bit of discussion on was the recent info that we were gathering in regards to the beach. And the survey that we put out, we actually did discuss it today in council about maybe finding better ways to reach out to the community and doing a community census like that, sending it out in the mail and stuff like that. Council discussed it. We weren't aware of what was going to happen in that situation like that, but finding ways to better reach out to the community, and the census was a poor way of doing it. And from mistakes like that, I think we learned how to approach community a little bit better in the future and work with community members to try to get input from everybody. And as for community forums and stuff like that, we have had them in the past over the last few years, but with the pandemic, it's been hard to reach out to the community where you have a community hall gathering, get input from the people. But hopefully with the pandemic maybe going on the decline in numbers and all that, we can return back to having community engagements and having more people from the public come to the halls and stuff like that and voice their input to council, and hopefully we can resolve issues from there.
Okay, thank you. Jesse.
Yes, I think everybody here at the tables and most of the community has seen me either at Jesse Mart or at the liquor shack. Forever behind the till. And that's where, providing I'm not in a council meeting or a council session, still be. So for anybody, if they ever wanted to have a council that they could directly approach, I would still be behind the till. I would still be at either the liquor shack or Jesse Mart or Cannabis or any of the other stores that I'm at, and I'm approachable at any time. And from Wednesday to Saturday, I'm on a shift every day. Like I said, provided I'm not doing council affairs. And it would make it so that people would have a direct line. They don't have to say, oh, what is this guy's cell number? What is this? How do I get a hold of him? Can I contact him on email? Will he get back? They walk into the store and they can find me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Larry? Mike? Okay, your question is, how can we get on firmer financial footing in this municipality? Mike, you want to-
Well, I think we want to reduce costs. We've seen, when I first moved to Wabasca, I often heard, don't worry about the cost, the MD has plenty of money. But over the last 7 years, we've seen that things can dry up very quickly. And so we need to be more fiscally prudent with the money that we have. The taxes that we collect are needed to run the MD, and that should be done efficiently, and we should always be looking to lower costs. As far as contracting out services, that's a good way to go. I agree with the recent decision to have longer terms of service, but I think 3 years is a bit extreme. 1 year is not enough. I would have settled for maybe 2 years.
Thanks.
What was the question again?
The question is, how do we get on a firmer financial footing in this municipality?
I think we have to start making some wise choices. We shouldn't be able to be building, again, old age homes that we can't afford to run at half capacity. We're going to build another one in Calder Lake, and it's always the ratepayer that's got to get stuck with it. You know, we have to be a little wise. I know they're all done already. Golf course is done. We can't afford it. Maybe, you know, the last meeting we had here, I think it was a year and a half ago, I brought that up. Now that it's done, let a private industry come in and run it, and hopefully they can take a profit. Otherwise, it's going to keep sucking all the taxpayers' money just to run that operation. So it's going to take all of us. Maybe if we're going to put up a building, let's get a plebiscite. Let the taxpayers decide if we can do it, if they want it or not. That's probably about the only choice we have.
Thanks, Larry. Is there 2 follow-ups? Darlene, and since we heard from you last time, Everett, anybody else? If not, Everett.
Can you
The question again is, how do we get on firmer financial footing as a municipality?
My take on that is, like you said, we've got to look at different ways we can reduce spending. But I'd also like to bring up the fact that the MD this year is running a surplus. We have 30 million in reserve, and we're running at a 32 million surplus at the moment, and gives us 4 months left. That being said, last year we were in a $2 million deficit. That was due to COVID and from the long-term care facility. But I still believe we need the long-term care facility, and we're turning it over to Wabasca Family Housing Authority January 1st, and I think everything will elaborate on that.
Everett?
Question one more time, please.
How do we get on firmer financial footing as a municipality?
Okay, in regards to that, I know a lot of people were saying that we run a deficit and all that. Maybe I'll explain it a little bit. In 2020, we anticipated our revenue being at about $60 million. We ended up collecting about $64 million through taxes, through industry and residents. We budgeted $70 million, so technically, we budgeted a deficit. But again, like Darlene said, we did have a surplus of over 30 million in the bank. Through fiscal responsibilities over the last few years with council and administration, we were able to bank some million. We took money out of the surplus to balance the budget so that we can implement a $70 million budget. Year to year, we've always topped up the deficit from administration being accountable and actually not spending exactly what they budgeted. So the last 5 years or so, we've always had about 30 million in the bank. So with that, we continue to balance the budget every year. As a municipality in the Municipal Government Act, we are not allowed to submit the deficit to the province, and we never have in the past, and we never will. Some of the things that we've done to change that was privatization of the clinic. Again, that saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars. Also, with the long term, we did go with the third-party operating agreement on the long-term care. That alone, we anticipate a $2 million operating budget from the province. Again, that could be put back into our surplus. And several other options that we have on the table to do that. So we've been balancing the budget every year. I know operating has been higher than revenue coming in, but also every year we don't spend as much as we budget. So technically we do run a balanced budget every year. Thank you.
Robin. Since we haven't heard from you enough, Everett.
Just stand there.
No, it's a fly. Okay, question that's been coming up a lot, both in the media and around the community. Are you in favor of COVID vaccines being required for MD?
I can start off now. I believe everybody has a right, constitutional right, to get the vaccination, and I'm not scared to say it. I'm currently vaccinated, my wife's vaccinated. I promote vaccination as much as we can. MD, we try to message the positives of being vaccinated. We put in the vaccine passport to get into our facilities. When it comes to staffing, I have a firm, I believe that people have a constitutional right. It's something, not everybody's going to agree on, but I think you should have a choice on whether you want the vaccination or not. I think it's our job as council and the MD and to get the messaging out there of the benefits of getting the vaccination, and hopefully people start seeing the benefits of it and how it's actually saving lives and not tying up our healthcare system. It's unvaccinated people right now that are majority of the people that are sick in the hospitals, and I think over 90% of them. There's a lot of positives in getting the vaccination, and I hope within the next couple months, I think right now we're at 70%, maybe a little bit higher now, but hopefully within the next couple months we get up to that 80-90% vaccinated. Thank you.
Robin.
Thanks, Dave. That's a great question and a tough one. I know we did implement the vaccine passports for our rec centers and community halls. But as far as implementing a mandatory vaccine for staff, I really hesitate there. Like Everett said, for us to force people to get vaccinated, I don't think is the right way to go. We are looking at getting a rapid testing machine and looking into the cost of that and the possibility that what we may do down the road, if I get back in, is anybody who isn't vaccinated may have to get tested every 72 hours like the province is doing with their staff. Not sure what the cost of that is going to be, but it's something we're looking into. But to force somebody, I really don't want to go there if we don't have to.
Thank you, Robin. Stonewall. Anybody else would like to respond to this? Jason?
Well, I am also vaccinated, and I also believe in the vaccinations helping, as we can see. And, what I don't agree with is the mandatory vaccinations for people to go inside our facilities, and yet the people working there, they don't have to be vaccinated. Well, that's hypocritical, you guys. You know, either you can't have both ways, you know, especially like our seniors. Our seniors are vulnerable, and yet the people there don't have to be vaccinated. That is crazy. Where in the province, they are have to be vaccinated. What, you know, so you guys are hypocritical. Vaccination cards for people who walk in, but unvaccinated for the people who work there. Doesn't make sense. Okay, thank you.
Jason?
So for vaccinations, I am vaccinated. My family's vaccinated. All my eligible people in my family. I do have a young one who's not vaccinated. It's one of those situations where I believe that everybody should be and have a vaccination just for the safety of my children, safety of everybody's children. I do believe in the facilities, the workers should have their vaccinations. It's one of those things where if we all have to get it to come into come into the facility, we should have, those workers should also be vaccinated. It's important for us to protect our children and protect the young ones. Those are the ones who are using most of the facilities right now. And again, for the vulnerable people, the elderly. I also, within the industry, there's a huge push for people to become vaccinated out there. I do feel for the people that haven't gotten vaccinated and believe that they're waiting for the proper information to come out. You know, this COVID situation is a real event. It's not something that's been made up, and it's not a conspiracy. You know, it's something that I believe is really affecting people here at home. We lost a few people here in the community, and I feel really bad for those people. My condolences to those family members, those people who lost their family members. Like I said, it's a serious situation that we're in right now, and I do believe that within the MD, I do believe we should get a COVID vaccination roll on. For everybody that is associated with people or in the general public, they should be vaccinated. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Should get a less slippery road. Stonewall. Jesse. Okay, your question is, how can we attract new businesses to Wabasca?
Well, I guess the one main way to is for tax services to them. Make it affordable for them to come here, so they can start a business. You know, maybe for new business, give them some kind of grant, some of that to attract them, and we do. We had one of the things is we don't promote our community, our MD enough. Everybody you see on TV, all these other counties and stuff, they promote themselves really hard, They attract people, and that's what we have to do.
Jesse.
I believe two things. I believe we should work a little harder with TELUS and a little harder with the gas companies and the electric companies to secure that we have infrastructure. In my store in Slave, I've had a brownout once. In my store in Wabasca, I have one about every 2 months. So one thing I would urge is for the MD to really work with the different facilities on that. The other one would I believe we should have a chamber of commerce. I've been in many other communities where and it doesn't have to be an official chamber of commerce. Even if it's just where you get a group of people together that new businesses can come talk to, or other businesses that are interested in going to the community can talk to and say, hey, what's this? We have this. And one thing, if elected, I would actually, on my volunteer time or through the MD, work to facilitate chamber of commerce.
Thanks, Jesse. Follow-ups, Mike, Don. Go quick on the truck. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I think to increase businesses in Wabasca, we need more education for young people. I think there's a lot of residents in Wabasca that really want to have their own business, and they have great ideas, but they simply just don't know how to get started. If we had some education, Well, I'll tell a story. When I first moved to Wabasca, I tried to open a little carpet cleaning business just on the side. And it was going pretty good, but where it failed was I just didn't have the ability to do the financial part. I didn't know the bookkeeping part. And if that had been offered somewhere, not just high school, but perhaps at the college, I could have learned how to do that and I might be successful in my business. But since I just didn't know how to do that, aside from hardwood floors with leather couches, my business didn't really do that well.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, first of all, I think we need an economic development officer here to promote and bring business in. And also to get a new business, then you have to give them tax breaks. If a developer develops land, you don't let them pay taxes until the land is sold. You know, if you bring a developer, nobody wants to develop land and have that burden on them all the time. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Okay, next to Marcel. Jason. Okay, what can the MD do to support affordable housing and seniors housing? Right, Marcel?
All right. So in regards to seniors housing and affordable housing, it's really important at this point. That's a provincial mandate, and that's something that we've found over the years. The MD has done even more than its part all the time in making sure that there is affordable housing, that these programs continue to roll. I think it's important that we continue to work with the province as well as our neighbors. Big Stone with the 4 communities we share with them, Peerless Trout with the 2 communities we have there as well, and come up with ways that we can approach province and federal government to do different initiatives, whether it be additional housing, if it's housing complexes, for what we need to support the people within our community. So I really think it's a partnership thing that we need to go do moving forward. It's the province as well as our First Nation neighbors and get those programs ongoing and growing and making money amongst themselves so that we're not, it's not a constant drain, but it's actually bringing money back into that program as it moves forward. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
What can the MD do to support affordable housing and seniors housing?
For seniors housing, I've heard a couple of people that used to have the seniors benefit where the taxes, they had a tax break on stuff. And there was a few seniors that were mentioning that that tax break is not there. I'm not too sure if it's still there. They had a few glitches. I know seniors, like I said, for senior housing, I have the luxury of being living in my grandmother's home right now. She was given a home years ago, and the maintenance and everything that she got over the years really did benefit her. She was on the assisted living for most of her life, and it helped her out quite a bit. And eventually, that should also be for everybody right now too, to have more assistance for the renovations or anything else that's happening in the community. A lot of people, the first thing they'll say is, well, senior, they have children. Maybe the children are responsible. As a community, we have to help our seniors also. They are struggling. They are people that we have to respect. They are people who we look up to. And they do deserve a break at some point. As far as assisted living and subsidized housing, as a homeowner who purchased his own home on his own, it's a two-way street. The value of my home decreases with the more assisted living homes that are in the area, and it's people who are trying to sell their homes are having a tough time because now you can get a home for next to nothing when you get those homes built for you at next to nothing. When it comes in at next to nothing cost, and we lose value on our homes as homeowners. I do appreciate that there are people out there that require help, but a lot of times is it going to the right people? Is it going to the people who really deserve to have those homes and require help in that way? I think a better give, like for people who really deserve those homes, I think a better application process would actually help in that manner. Like I said, as a homeowner, we do see our value of our homes decreasing, as I'm sure a lot of you homeowners have seen out there in the past. You can see in the 40 lot, people are selling their homes for next to nothing because of the assisted living out there that's happening in the community.
Okay, Robin, Mike.
Thanks, Dave. But housing is such a serious issue in our communities. And I agree 100% with Jason. Those who can afford to pay rent or buy their own homes, they're not the ones we need to be helping. We need to be helping those who can't. Like I say, I knew a house that had 24 people living in it. That's unacceptable. We've got to support the low income in our community. And it shouldn't be all money coming from the municipality. This is an Alberta issue, Alberta government issue who should be paying for it. So we need to be lobbying hard. We need to show the need, do a needs survey in our community and show the government that we need help. Thank you.
Mike?
I know that in Wabasca and Colleen Lake and all of the other communities, homelessness is a big issue. And I think BMD must do something about it. I would like to see a partnership between the MD and the other First Nations, in particular Big Stone. I know that Big Stone has run at least 2 or 3 programs in building tiny homes. If the MD would purchase some of these homes, I think a company like perhaps Boss or some other company could start up and start building these homes. And then we could start solving some of the homeless issues and get people off the streets and improve their health and give them an opportunity to actually find some work.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, Darlene, you're up, since you were the last one in the lucky jar. And your dance partner will be Don. This was tough. Okay, this question is, what do you feel is the relationship between the MD staff and the council?
Well, I feel our relationship is great. I'm not too sure if you mean if we get involved in anything the staff does.
I think it means more like how, what should the relationship be between staff and council?
Well, the way it is right now, it's just a professional relationship while we're at work. I don't believe we should dabble in something that MDA doesn't let us do. But there are certain issues, like if there was one of the staff members came up to me and told me they were being bullied, I would certainly bring that forward. I just brought a suggestion today, well, I had brought it forward earlier, that I really believe the staff needs some kind of protection. Because if they have a grievance, and if the grievance is against their manager, they have nowhere to go. So I think an independent group could be hired to help HR out, so that they would know the people, but they would know their problems and help them. But as far as staff and the council goes, I think it's clearly professional.
Thank you, Darlene.
Okay, the one thing I want to clarify is council has only one staff member working for them, and that's the CEO. And I think the relationship between council and staff is always good. because council doesn't interfere with day-to-day operations or any business of staff. And it's a good idea too to every so often bring in an outside company, evaluate the whole staff and council, and see if there's any way we can make improvements. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. And Larry, Marcel.
That is a good question. I think when it comes to being working with your managers and your lead hands, whatever, at times you should be able to intervene if you know that something wrong is going on. I guess I could say, I'll give you when that logging program, when you guys awarded on job emojis, it wasn't tendered out. There's a lot of companies here that have the capacity to go get logging equipment if they see that they can make money. I'm one of them. I pay a lot of taxes. I could do that. It's when I questioned Marcel about that, which I basically told him it was a conflict of interest. Well, he said, well, I can't tell my managers what to do. I said, there's a time when you're wrong, your manager's wrong, you better get involved because we elected you to run it smooth. So I raised hell on it. I was hated, but hey, I'm a big boy. I can handle it. So I really admire Everett. When I told him I was mad, I was literally screaming at him. And it was awarded the whole job. They took the mulching and the grubbing away, which is a good thing. And the proper process was done that it was awarded, tendered out, and somebody else got it. Now that's always it. We got a lot of guys here that look every day the situation, what MD's doing. So yeah, it should always be tendered out. And if you know your brother got that job by that, we see some crooked deal going on, well, hey, that should be stopped instantly. Thank you.
Marcel?
All right, so I know the CAO within the MD at this point, the chain of command and following that chain of command is always something that's brought forward and made very clear to both administration and to council members as we go through. But we do live in small communities, and if a guy is, to use myself as an example, I'm walking down the road, walking my dogs down the path, and a staff member comes down and they've got something they want to discuss and stuff. We still need to be an open ear. They're still taxpayers. They're still residents of this community. You just got to be very careful as to how you approach that, and you can still take that concern and have it dealt with our one employee, which is a CAO, and go to him. And if you're not satisfied, you can take that to the council table and stuff. So it is something that we've it's not always 100%, but we understand what our rules are, what administration's rules are, but we also understand that there's a little bit of a gray area in there just due to us being a smaller MD population-wise in smaller communities where we know everybody knows everybody and we know who's connected to who, and so you make do with what you have that way. But I think the relationship that we've had and the working relationship between MD, the council, and the administration has been very healthy over this past term. We've gone through a few CAOs in the last term, and I think there's the director team and the team put in place and stuff. It has worked with the council in this last little bit that we've had in our term. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcel. We already have two votes. Everett. Marcel, go get coming. Okay, this question comes from Facebook, and it's from a person that's not quite old enough to vote yet. Probably won't be for several more years. Okay, their question is, if you received $1 million to use in any way you wanted in the community, what would you do and why?
Well, seeing how it's coming from the youth, I mean, part of my election platform is supporting the youth. I know a lot of people have the same feelings here. And I think, like a few of the candidates said, we need to focus on youth, and I totally agree. Our youth programming has come down a little bit during the pandemic, and it's time to bring back the youth programming to our communities. $1 million, I mean, I'm hoping to invest a little bit more than that, but $1 million would be definitely a good start on investing in youth programming. Just finding ways to keep our youth occupied in the evenings and all that. Drove by the hall the other day and just kind of noticed the youth standing outside and don't really have anything to do. And I think that's when council kind of said, okay, you know what, we really need to start focusing on youth and bringing back programming. So we have actually today in council, we did put the motion forward to have 3 new positions for youth programming, and they're not just there for the programming, they're there to implement the programming. And one of the things that we did say about the position is it's not just a day job, it's going to be a position where you're also doing the programming and you're implementing the programming. So you're expected to be there in the evenings and implement these programming. So hopefully, you know, it's finding ways to keep youth occupied, and I think $1 million is a very good start on keeping our youth with something to do in our community. And hopefully we improve on it over the next couple of years, if I get re-elected again. So, thank you.
Marcel.
Thank you, Dave. One thing I find within our communities here, and we're seeing a lot of it, and especially with COVID having hit and the economy, is that the identity of our youth right now is very, knowing where they come from and being proud of where they come from. So I really think if, I had $1 million to put into something to the MD right now, cultural and traditional teachings and kids understanding, even we found in this past year as well that, hunting and trapping and the fishing, these are life skills that our kids that parents are getting a little more into, and I can attest for that. As a week ago, I had my dad, myself, and my 2 boys, 3 generations, going out to the Fox Creek area and spending a week out in a camp, killing some moose, being able to do the full process, and coming back and providing some meat to family and stuff moving forward. So I think those kind of teachings going, either whether it goes through the MD or goes through our schools is very important. So that'd be one place to put the money. The other thing I'd see is helping out some of the agencies that help people. And I look at the food bank, being able to put more money towards that. We talked about that small house program and stuff, being able to help kickstart a program like that where our youth will get to learn the trades, all of those trades, and be able to apply that to their careers moving forward, and it'd be a kickstart to a program like that. So I think that's where we'd look at putting that money in.
Thanks, Marcel. Stonewall. John.
First of all, you can hire as many people as you want to run this program. If they're not trained, well, their programs aren't going to do anything. If I had $1 million, I would spend it on one person. Someone who's got degrees in all kinds of sports to bring in and train our locals. We can't have coaches, we can't have swimming coaches, soccer coaches if we don't have anybody here doing it now. We have to bring somebody to train our people. Our youth are our future. And as council keeps saying that, but yet, when time comes to crunch, they shut down every youth center we had. Why? If they had a $30 million surplus, they certainly didn't have to shut them down now, and then they're complaining about, nothing happening for the youth. Well, that's where I would spend my $1 million.
Thanks. John.
If I was given $1 million to spend,
If you received $1 million to use in any way you wanted in the community, what would you do and why?
again, I agree with Stonewall and focusing on the youth. I think with $1 million you could afford to pay some people, like for instance, the Stonewalls with his baseball camp and stuff like that. We need more of that. We need more push for that. The Daves with the boxing club. Soccer is an easy sport to get into. We can pay someone, even tutors with extracurricular schooling, pay tutors to further our youth, to benefit them, go out, get secondary school, and come back, perhaps work in the MD with a degree, lawyers, accountants, whatever. We could push more for that if we had the money to do it. That's how I would spend my money. Business owners or to come back with a business and perhaps open a new business in the community, a successful business. So that's what I would do if I had.
Thanks, John. All right. Mike. Larry. Okay, next question is, with the pandemic, we've seen a focus, or not a focus. With the pandemic, we've seen an increase in drug, alcohol abuse, and mental illness. How would the MD respond to that?
I don't know if MD is even involved. I don't even have a doctor.
I think what they're trying to get at is, what would be the MD's plans going forward in regards to mental illness, mental health, drug and alcohol abuse?
Well, I really don't think that it should be up to the MD and the REIT on some matters. And that's one thing I think is probably the health professionals get involved. And again, we probably have to work with the band. So I know it's wrong, and I know friends that are into it, but it's pretty hard to shut it down. I lost a brother over that, so it's something that there's not a switch there, you shut it off. It's a long-term goal if you want to get somebody to quit doing that, so I don't know, leave it to the professionals.
Mike?
Yeah, sadly, addictions and substance abuse in First Nations communities are pretty much endemic. And it dates back to a legacy of residential schools and lack of opportunities for people, lack of education, and just having no work to do. People are in despair. Over the pandemic, yes, that has increased. What the MD has done, I think, is, they've supported Peaksquatan, and they've also had doctors here that can help people. And I think keeping those professional people here will help. But I also agree with Larry that it's not the direct responsibility of Region Council to start helping people directly in that way.
Thanks, Mike. Follow up, Darlene? Everett? Oh, just sorry, Jesse, you had your hand up.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Just a little follow-up on the comments from Larry and Mike. Yes, it isn't really an MD responsibility, but we, as the MD councillors, recently had a big fundraising golf tournament where we raised $60,000 for mental health. We gave $30,000 to Big Stone Cree Nation, Community Wellness, and Peaksquatan. I know in our talks, and if I'm elected, with Alberta Health Services, I will encourage them to bring more mental health programs to our area. But I don't think it is our responsibility. But it is a really big concern.
Thanks, Darlene. Jesse?
I agree. I don't think it's the responsibility of the MD, but what I do believe is the MD has a vital role in being almost what you would call the procurement or the middleman. There's many, I know this for certain, there's many programs that the province offers through AGLC and through different drug and alcohol addiction programs, and they would just love to be able to come in to an MD and say, hey, here's the programs we have. Can you guys facilitate? Can we work with you? And I think if elected, I would actually be an expert in doing that, into being a facilitator with the MD and to dealing with the province and the federal government. far too big for an MD. I think you almost need the province and the feds to come in with larger programs. And I, if elected, would love to be a facilitator on that. And I do know there are programs that they would love to facilitate with an MD and do. Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. No, might as well, I'll back up there, Jesse. And so on. Okay, Everett had mentioned it in his, or not in his opening remarks, but earlier in the evening about the survey for the, that's been floating around town about the use of the, what's called the Little Beach, the beachside boat launch. What would, if elected, what should the MD do with the Little Beach?
Wow, that's one of my campaign promises. Is over there, I'd like to build a nice park, a real beautiful park over there with walking facilities, a dog walk, have a disc golf area over there. That's the stuff that we need in this community, more of that. We don't need private industry to go in there and, start charging, and then pretty soon we're going to be locked out of that nice area over there. So that's what I would do.
Just
Okay, I would be almost the exact opposite of that. I believe with an area like that, you would need a public-private partnership. Not to say that the private partnership is there to make money, but I believe you need the efficiency of a private partnership, and the person or group that has a private interest in maintaining the facility, building the facility, keeping everything up to snuff. I found just as a little bit of history of my experience in Canyon Creek, we had a group that was doing the marina. It was a private group, and they were doing a really good job. It got given to the MD, and then the MD went in there and said, oh, geez, this power is up to snuff, or it's not exactly how the new codes have to be and everything. And basically, the entire marina got shut down for a whole year, while, because of COVID and everything else, where private industry could keep on working through it. And the rates that the private industry did for the marina in Canyon were more than reasonable. Nobody ever would go on a block anybody out. They wanted to have as many people around as possible, but the people there had a vested interest in keeping them busy. So I find a public and private partnership in that situation.
Thanks, Jesse. Hold on, say, everybody have their hands up fast. Everett. Don. I'm sorry. Sure. Well, now, we stuck to the 2%. But Mike can work it into one of these other questions.
Just to elaborate on that a little bit more, and probably didn't say enough the first time I spoke. It's hard to come up here and just come up with things and come out of your head, and just stuff. But I agree with Stonewall that it's a spot that is dear to the community, and it's something that should be protected. And I think in the last council meeting, I actually brought it up that maybe putting it into policy that it's a piece of land that no developer can approach the MD and ask to develop it. It's putting in some kind of policy to protect it. I know it's already a green space, and basically when the developers did come to council, we did say to them that we proposed a RV park farther down from the beach 2 years prior to that, and rejection from the community was fierce, and we kind of got the message right then and there. Just basically, we told these people that basically you're going to get the same response. I'm not exactly sure how the survey was put out there. I actually didn't get a copy in my mail. I accept flyers and everything too, but I didn't get a copy, and I know it was poorly dealt with, and it wasn't a direction from council to put the survey out there. I think it was more we were heading towards protecting that and making sure that people don't approach council to develop it. So, if I'm re-elected, definitely put it in policy that that's a green space. And like Stonewall says, build a park there, make a beautification for the community, get administration to maintain it, keep the garbage out of there and stuff, and just keep keep it as a nice green space for the community to enjoy for the years to come. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. Tom?
Okay, first of all, I'm not against private enterprise developing land anyplace, but I think it's a very special piece of property. And, you know, we've got a world-class golf course further down the road. People want to camp, let's develop a nice campground there so everybody can enjoy it. It's not a select few. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Okay. Jason. Robin.
Everett, that survey that was going on was on MD letterhead.
Yeah. Wasn't direction.
We know who did it, and why he did it.
Okay, next question. Most of the candidates have highlighted youth and recreation opportunities in their posters and whatnot. In the past 4 years, the MD has spent $42 million on recreation and culture. How can we do better without spending more money?
I mean, you've got to spend some, but I think what we need is more programming for you. You know, we've got a beautiful pool. I'm sure that there's training for swimming competitions and stuff like that, soccer, baseball. We need to get organized, bring people into organized sporting events like that. But obviously you have to spend some.
So I'm a father of 3 children. Like I said, my youngest is 8, 12, and 17. So in the past few years, one of the only programs that we find that's available here is hockey. Now, obviously there's boxing. We've tried baseball. We've tried soccer. We've tried the swimming. Actually, my kids went through swimming programs here. All those programs are in place right now, but one of the things that's lacking, like Stonewall, is the training. As a coach for myself, I've had to do probably about 7 courses online, spend multiple days on my own time to go out and do this training at my own cost. And it's something that is difficult for a coach to go out and actually get this training done. It's out of, like you said, you have to take time off from work. And it's a volunteer position. It's not a paid position. We do it out of the love for our children, for other people's children, and making sure that we're taking care of the kids around here. I know it's a cost to pay for training, but at the same time, it benefits the whole community, and it actually benefits the children that we have here. Like I said, the other programs that were in place were done by a lot of volunteers. This community has many volunteers that go out of their way to help everybody, whether it be the children or whether it be on other programs that are happening in the community. I think the biggest thing for us, like I said, is to develop some training, move some people forward, get some things done. We have the facilities, we have everything here. We had a music program here. There's kids here. I have a 12-year-old and his friend is 12 years old. They've been at talent shows. They've done amazing things. And it was basically giving them a chance to actually play this stuff and giving them a chance to actually do things. Our kids are finding too much time to be out and hanging out. You hear kids out at 3 o'clock in the morning and they're under 13 years old. They're doing things out there that they shouldn't be doing at their age. We need to start keeping them busy. Like going out traditional, like Marcel mentioned. My son and I have a yearly thing where we go hunting every year. His friends always ask about it, but their parents don't do it. A lot of parents don't have the ability to go out and do that. So good on the parents that actually take their children out. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement, and I think proper training, getting the coaching in place would definitely benefit the community. Thank you.
Follow-ups, Marcel. Anyone else? The question was, most of the candidates have highlighted youth and recreation opportunities. In the past 4 years, the MD has spent $42 million on recreation and culture. How can we do better without spending more money? Oh, John.
I think we can do better without spending more money is focusing what we have or the budget's given or what's planned for from some of the things that are, we need to prioritize things. They said, not solely focused on the golf course, things like that. Again, not giving up on the, like Jason said, we tried these programs, they may need a little bit of boost to keep them going. Like we try them, but we shouldn't give up on them. I would say just focusing more money on things that are needed, not spending more money, just simply prioritizing.
What's up?
You know, I think to look at the grant dollars and the dollars that we're currently putting in recreation, we've got, as an MD, we've got the facilities in place. We've got a neighbor that's right next to us here, and I'm going to use the example of Big Stone Cree Nation being our largest partner in 4 of our communities. Big Stone has access, a lot more access to programming dollars for things along this lines, and I think as we continue to build that relationship and partnership with Big Stone, you know, we don't charge any youth or any residents coming from the reserve onto our hamlet because we're trying not to have the borders there. It's the same rate or it's free, whatever it is, for rates for using the facilities. But I think in turn we can work with the partners of Big Stone and look for additional dollars through the federal government or through the provincial government to help entice and make these programs better. You know, being able to hire people specific for training and different things on different sports, as well as the traditional and the cultural things as well. These are things that Big Stone would have access to that maybe the MD wouldn't necessarily, so we can keep the same amount of dollars we have there, and you could almost double that with programming through the assistance of our neighbors that are right within our same communities as well. So I think the partnership is very important there.
Thanks, Marcel. Okay, last question goes to Darlene and Sean. Then we'll do some closing remarks, and I think this will come to the end. Okay, this question also comes from Facebook. It's also from an underage, but a little closer to the voting age person. And the question is, what is your favorite place to spend time in Wabasca? And I'm going to guess the answer for one of them.
No, it's not the golf course. That's just my happy place. My favorite place to spend time in Wabasca, probably with my grandkids, wherever they may be, just to make memories with them, have fun. Other than my grandkids, it would be the golf course. And I just like to say, I know a lot of people didn't understand why we put so much into the golf course. They thought, oh, all the Wabasca councillors are golfers. That's why they're pouring the money in there. That's not true. We basically like the idea of the golf course because it attracts professionals. It attracts the doctors. It attracts the business owners. And attracts a lot of people to come into our community. But like someone earlier said, we need to promote it. So for your answer, my son or little girl, it would be with my grandkids.
Thanks, Darlene. Sean?
That's a tough question for me. I do enjoy golfing. I don't get out as much as I'd like to. I wouldn't say it's my favorite place or favorite thing to do. For me, I've got a new family, but it's not new, but it's, my favorite thing is walking with my kids on the walkway and then just spending time with them in general. If we're boating, things like that. Then you have the quaders coming by. You know, I'm no saint either. I've been seen on the quad trail, on the walking path with my side-by-side. Because there's nowhere else to go. Maybe we do have a ton of land. Why not make some, like a ATV park or somewhere where we're not driving on the road and, you know, the cops are seeing me overwhelmed with other things. They can't be spending all their time chasing down these squads, but there's nowhere else to go. So I think we should focus on that, but that's my favorite thing. squatting around, walking around, enjoying the town.
Thanks, Sean. Anyone want to follow up with that? 30 start. We'll just go right around the table. Favorite place to put, favorite thing to do in Wallace? Go.
Sit at home and relax. We're going to be,
Marcel.
The great outdoors, anything to do with squatting, walking, sports, the facilities, spending the time with the kids and being outdoors and taking away from their game systems and their phones for the well.
Well, it's gotta be fishing. I mean, I'm on the lake as much as I can all summer. I mean, even ice fishing, I just love being on the lake and enjoying the time out there and the quietness and just the peace you get from fishing and fishing. I've always fished ever since I was a kid, so.
It's tossed up between fishing or working the yard garden. I think I could fishing quite a lot.
Robin.
It's gotta be the golf course. It's the most beautiful place in the world. Yeah.
Mike.
To be honest, I like to be walking down the path in Wabasca with my partner Nadia, and you may often see us walking around, just enjoying the good weather.
Jesse.
I don't know exactly the name of it, but when you go down by the lake, you just turn right to the golf course. There's that little peak where you can sit down beside the lake there. And actually, I find it's probably one of the most peaceful places I've ever been. So
Big Rock.
Big Rock. Is that the Big Rock? Big Rock. I like to go to that Big Rock. I like to sit there and just look out on the lake, and it always seems to be a little calmer than the rest. And I just find it a very calming place to soothe your mind.
Larry.
probably, spoiling my wife, she can watch others, I do the dishes, laundry.
Good answer.
My favorite place is, I have a bench on the walking trail there, right by my house. I sit on there watching the sunsets. Man, we got the most beautiful sunsets here. It's a calming place. That's where you'll find me lost, sitting on the bench.
Kind of heard that nobody mentioned their favorite hardware store. Okay, we're going to do closing remarks. Try to keep them under 2 minutes. We'll just draw names out of the magic jar again. Stone, you can go.